Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Bovell, and you are tuned into Temple Way Church for the pilgrimage devotions here each morning. And I'd like to continue with another parable today that Jesus tells, and this one is from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, and it's typically known as the parable of the prodigal son, in other words, or the parable of the lost son. And the story, in many ways, isn't so much about the son, but more about the father and his relationship to his two sons, and deeper than that, because as we've spoken about, the parables are about something deeper than what they appear on the surface. This parable is in a lot of ways about our relationship to reality and the wider story that we find ourselves in. That's what it means to be a child, right? To be born into a bigger story, the story of your parents, that reality that they sculpt. So this story is set up by Jesus. It's a made-up story where he says that this father has two sons, and the youngest son says to him, "Give me my share of what's coming to me, my inheritance, give it to me now." And when he makes this request, it's clear that the original audience and hearers would have thought that this was a typical story about a son who was disrespectful and then gets put in his place by his dad. But the twist in the story is that Jesus says that the dad, instead of putting the son in his place, "Who are you talking to? What do you mean you want inheritance now? What do you mean you are wishing me dead now? Because your inheritance is something that you get when I'm gone." He grants him the request and gives him the money. So the reaction of those who would have heard it the first time would have thought either this father is irresponsible or he's stupid, because he's giving his son this money that he doesn't deserve right now and that is going to be bad for the son. I mean, what kind of a father gives a teenager all of the money right then and there? He knows that the son's going to do something silly with it, but he does it anyway. He grants him the request. And what is it saying about reality? What is it saying about the deeper things of life? Is saying that it's a treatise on love. Love has to be unconditional. Real love has to be unconditional in any sense for it to be active and powerful. You know, love in many ways in today's society is conditional, isn't it? It's something where people say, if you do this, then I will do that. And clearly, we don't want to just go around loving people who are not going to love us in return, or who are going to take our love for granted or take advantage of us because we love them. No, we don't want that type of relationship to be our reality. But it's not talking about just romantic relationships or family relationships, but talking about the relationship of each human being to God, to the universe, to the higher things, right? And it's saying that love for humanity is unconditional. It has to be unconditional, because without it being unconditional, we wouldn't be able to relate to it. We wouldn't be able to relate to God in the right type of a way, right? When we ask what we want, when we live our lives, there has to be a sense in which our existence is not contingent on our performance. There has to be a sense in which our existence isn't contingent on the story that we feel we have created. It can't be about how perfect we are, and it can't be about how much money we've got. It can't be about how many people like us. It can't be about how many great jobs we've had in our lives and what successes we've had. It can't be about the house we live in. It can't be about the car we drive. It can't be about any of that stuff. It has to be an unconditional love that is extended to each human being because they are children of God, because they are existing in this reality. It's that gives us our sense of self-worth. It can't be based on other things, because if it is based on other things, that's so easily taken away. What if you don't have that gym body, right? What if during Corona you've been totally beside yourself and haven't been able to be productive? There's been a lot of sort of shaming, well intentional shaming of people who said, if you haven't come out of this lockdown with like a new book or a new way of being, then you've failed, right? And I get it, because people don't want to waste their time, but at the same time, you can't put those types of pressures on people as a means of them gaining their self-worth. Like if you wasted lockdown, what if you were tired? What if this was an opportunity for you to get some much needed rest? What if all of your you couldn't get all your ducks in a row? Does that mean that you're no longer of any value? No, this story is really about our understanding and self-love. It's about our ability to recognize that no matter what our journey has been, we still have a story that can be lived, that's going to be full of beauty and wonder and great things, right? As this son, he gets his inheritance at the beginning, and what he does with it is he wastes it. He goes off to a foreign country and spends his money on riotous living. He wastes his money a lot of times. Here on the Corona, I've seen that a lot of people have been sort of, just online buying stuff up. It's been a way of sort of passing the time, etc., etc. I don't know how much money you've used or how much time we feel like we've wasted, but he does that. He wastes the time. It's not like the story is saying that he did a good job with his resources. He didn't. He did a really bad job with his resources. And you would have thought that once he had done that, taken his father's resources, taking the life that we've been given, taking the story that we've been given and living it the wrong way, that he would be rejected. Like it would be like, you've had your chance, forget about it. But when he's in this foreign country, he remembers that his dad is good to him and that his dad has got more than what he needs, and he doesn't have any food or anything. He's serving pigs and wants to eat pig food, but he decides, I'm going to go back to my dad, because I had it better there. And even the most lowly servant that works for my dad has got it better than me right now. So I'll just go back and ask him to make me like one of his sales assistants. I'll just go back and throw myself on his mercy. So he does that, and he's expecting his dad to rough him up. But when his dad sees him, he shouts out to his servants, look, get a robe and put it on him. Yeah. Get the ring of authority and put that on him, put some shoes on his feet, and then get the fatted calf. Now, in the story, it says it's the fatted calf. It means that it's the animal that they've been fattening up for a feast, right? And that would be enough food to feed the whole family, to feed the whole house, to feed the whole village, right? The whole community would have been invited to such a feast because they had so much food. In terms of the preparations, you can see like what the level of party is that they're having, right? It's a party for everyone apart from the fatted calf. But anyway, he decides he's going to have this big party. It's also important that we recognize that in this journey towards unconditional love, in this journey towards believing that the universe wants good things for you, that God wants good things for you, that you're not being rejected, that your story's not over, your story's just beginning, right? Even after all of the mess and the mistakes, your story's just beginning, right? That it's also a story about community. It's a story about us doing this together, about you being brought back into the fold. You're not being isolated to expect to get everything right by yourself. We live in a culture where people talk about being self-made, where people talk about, I did this all by myself. But really, when we look at the greatest successes, certainly the greatest successes that I've had, have always been me as a part of a team, even though it might have looked like it was me that was getting all of the praise because I might have won the award, or I might have started the church, or I might have done whatever it was. It looked like it was me, right? But it wasn't me. It was in cooperation with the divine. It was in cooperation with other people. It was in community, right? So any journey towards unconditional love is always a journey also towards community. It's towards us working together in order to make a new reality and to let the story be what we want it to be, instead of the story that we've currently had. Those who listen to the parable when Jesus said it the first time, they would have thought, listen, this guy's finished, right? He's cancelled. He's written off. There's no future journey for this guy. But That's the great thing about Christian spirituality. It's always a journey, a pilgrimage of redemption. It's always, redemption meaning being brought back, being reconnected to the wider story, to the bigger reality, to the ultimate reality, right? That in this story, Jesus argues is unconditional love. It's not money. It's not politics, even though money and politics are important. It's not your attractiveness. It's not your social media imprint, right? It's unconditional love that is the defining characteristic of whether or not you have understood what's important in the world, or whether you've understood how you fit into the picture that you are loved unconditionally, right? And because you're loved unconditionally, you can navigate the world in a different way. I mean, think about what it's like if you're in a house where you're loved. You can move around in that house, and you can go in the fridge, and you can take out the orange juice, and you can go into the garden and lie down on the garden furniture. If there's a swimming pool, you can go and swim in the swimming pool. If there's a sauna, you see what I'm saying? You can use all the resources of the house in the sense that you have a sense of entitlement, not selfish entitlement, but a sense of the fact that your story is to be lived. You've got a story to tell, and that you are entitled to be there because you're a child of the house, right? You're a child of the house. So when we look at the way this story unfolds, this younger son is in many ways a typical human in our society, trying to rush and get what we need right now. He says, give me my share of the property right now, because we live in such a quick society. But the reality is that most things that are good don't come really quickly. It takes a while for you to find your way in your story in a meaningful way, right? You can't trick the process. You can't go from 0 to 60 in 1 second. Instead, you should enjoy the journey of accelerating slowly, so that when you get to the 60 miles per hour, you've enjoyed the whole journey on the way there. You haven't tried to teleport from one place to the other. That's what this kid's trying to do. And he realizes that doesn't work. And he goes back to his father because he realizes that that's where I'm going to get the real love, right? All right, just quickly looking at the second brother. When the second brother, the older brother, who's been trying to do things another way, he hasn't been trying to get what he wants out of the father, get what he wants out of reality by fighting for his place for now. He's been playing the long game. He's been being the good person. He's been doing everything right. And for many of us, we haven't wasted our resources. We've been taking care of them. We haven't squandered our talents. We've been working hard, writing that book, or doing those studies, or really slogging it out, making all the right decisions, and then we still haven't really felt that we've gained the results that we wanted to get. Like, we haven't got the acclaim, or we haven't got the money, or we haven't got the relationships, we haven't got the prestige. Do you see what I mean? And as a result of that, that's made us a bit cynical. It's made us come to a place where we say, well, this is not fair, because we've been told all the time that if you work hard and you do all the things you're supposed to do, then the universe, then God, reality will give you back exactly what you hoped for. But that's just not the way it works. We're not here to manipulate reality in that way. Unconditional love doesn't mean that you're going to get everything you want. Unconditional love means that while you're doing it, you're going to have the stubborn gladness and joy of life. That means that the other trappings are not important for you. It doesn't matter if you get a best-selling book. Your blessing is to be able to have written a book. It doesn't matter if you don't get children in a relationship. Your blessing is to have had that relationship to begin with. It doesn't matter if the song you write is not number one. Your blessing is to have received that song and to be able to perform it and to get the joy out of that creative exercise. So this second son has a different relationship to unconditional love, but it's just as flawed as the first son's relationship to unconditional love, to God, to the idea of God as Father, right? So the point of the parable for me is that both of these children and both of their ways of relating to reality are accepted by the Father. The one who wastes it is accepted. The one who doesn't waste it is also accepted. And the reality is that both of them have to come to the place where they say, listen, my story is still a story that's worth living, even if it doesn't work out exactly the way that I thought it did or the way other people thought it would. That my story is still relevant, right? My story is still good. My story is still full of stubborn gladness and joy, right? So the story ends with the father going out to the older son and saying, why don't you come into the party? He gives him this invitation to join in, right? You can't always decide what's going to happen with the story that you live, whether it's going to live up to your expectations, hopes and dreams, whether or not you're going to get what you want now, or whether you're going to have to wait for it, or whether those things will never come. But the reality is that what you can do is that you can choose to join the party. You can choose to participate. Are you participating in life? Are you showing up for work, showing up for your creativity, showing up for your relationships, showing up for your family, showing up for work? Just show up and enjoy what you do and try to live a good story, not by forcing reality, but just by participating in the divine, participating in love, in hope, in joy, in truth, in courage. I think that's all that we're going to deal with for today. I hope that you will go away from this and make a decision to live a really good story, and that you'll know that no matter where you are, if you feel like you've wasted time or if you feel like you've been on the slog for a while, that no matter where you are, you're living a good story, and that your story is not over, but it's just beginning. All right. Thanks for listening. God bless, and see you tomorrow for another one of these devotions for Temple Way Church. It's been a pleasure being with you. My name is Bobby Bovell. Peace.